mahirap nito, Dick, is paano yung mga tao na tumanggap na lang sa PCR test ninyo na positive sila when all along negative sila, but because walang pera at hindi masyado di meet ka na assertive ones, pasunod-sunod na lang, and had to endure a confinement of 2 weeks when all along tested negative pala sila. Yan ang problema mo sa Red Cross. Problema ka na, problema pa ang Red Cross sa iyo. Because of this information is accurate, then maybe the DOH must investigate this matter. You could be putting more people at risk. You could be falsely adding to the total positive cases per day of this country. Ilan yung nadagdag doon sa positive sa isang araw, daily attack, na negative, nasali na doon sa numero na pakarami na ang kasakit. Sure are we now in our figures in the veracity and truthfulness of the test combined? Marami man rin nagpunta dyan sa Red Cross. How do you backtrack? If it is impossible, what do you intend to do? Ang mahirap kasi niyan, merong sa panahon mo sa Red Cross, may audit 86,815,433.24 is attributed to you. Sabi ng COA, and in early August of this year, SBMA sent final demand for you to pay the said amount in 30 days. It has been more than 30 days, Mr. Gordon, and you have not done anything.
The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Jess De Los Santos. Citing latest data, experts confirm that the current COVID-19 wave in the country is the most severe one so far. To give us more details on this, Greg Gregorio joins us live from Antipolo. Good afternoon, Greg. I do understand that experts say we are already in the fourth wave of infections, and they're saying this is the most severe. What's the basis for that?
Well, yes, good afternoon. We were able to talk to medical experts Dr. Ronjin Solante and Father Nicanor Austriaco, as well as data analytics expert Professor Jomar Rabahante, whom both of these experts said that we are currently having the most severe wave of COVID-19 infection and also the longest wave of infection so far. For Dr. Ronjin Solante, he said we are seeing more cases than the previous waves of the COVID-19 infection in the country since the onset of the pandemic, which was back in March and April. We're also seeing more cases under age 50, and more healthcare workers are also having COVID-19 infection despite the vaccine coverage among healthcare workers. For Father Nicanor Austriaco, who is also an experimental biologist, he said the wave so far has been longer for about a week already than the third wave of infection, which was back in March to April early this year, which was previously driven by Alpha and Beta variant. But since the Department of Health is saying that we have not seen the peak of the fourth wave yet, or this current surge that we are seeing, Father Austriaco said we might be seeing even longer wave of infection than the previous waves. For Professor Rabahante, he said we are also seeing more cases, and hospital care utilization is still at an overwhelming state as compared to the previous waves. Jess?
Okay, now that they're saying that we are currently at the most severe and at the same time the longest wave of COVID infections, what do they recommend to at least curb this ongoing wave?
Charles, experts say while we are conducting a pilot run or an experimental intervention here in Metro Manila to address the ongoing surge of cases, they say we have to caution our decisions and emphasize our compliance to minimum of public health standards, boosting our vaccine rollout, as for us not to revert the gains that we have gained in the past implementations of quarantine restrictions such as MECQ and ECQ in the past weeks and months. Jess?
All right, thank you very much for those updates. Again, Greg Gregorio reporting live from Antipolo. Experts warn that the approaching flu season in America may complicate COVID-19 treatments. The Johns Hopkins School of Public Health professor and virologist Andrew Pecos explains this on Bloomberg. Let's listen in.
Doctor, is flu season already on your radar?
Absolutely. We've been watching influenza cases. There's a little bit more activity this year than we've seen over the past few years. So we really are worried that without public health interventions like we had last fall, that we're going to see a surge of flu cases, and that's going to complicate COVID-19 diagnostics. And it's also a disease that may target younger populations more because we haven't seen flu in a few years. So it's a complicating issue that we're really keeping an eye on while we keep focused on COVID-19.
All right, so Andy, as we get focused on trying to get more people vaccinated, there was some news that crossed, including the Pope urging everyone to get a COVID vaccine, and the White House making a call to Nicki Minaj after her Twitter post that got a lot of attention that we wouldn't read because it wasn't really fit for morning television. Is this the way to get more people vaccinated?
We have to really go out there and aggressively go after the misinformation and the lack of information. And then we also have to find better ways to communicate to the pockets of population that are probably willing to take the vaccine, but are really just step back and see all of this noise on both sides and are just unclear as to where to go. The science is clear, the safety is clear, the efficacy is clear. Just got to get better at getting the messages delivered correctly to the right populations.
Andy, when you're talking about all the things that are clear, to your point, there's a lot that's unclear, and I think about the booster issue, in particular the FDA meeting for an extensive period today to discuss whether to recommend boosters. Do you think that this debate is premature and muddies the water, or do you think it's important for us to be focusing on this because it will be an important tool?
Well, when it comes to boosters, the one thing that is clear is that the data on boosters say that boosters are safe, and boosters do increase the amount of protective antibodies that you have in your system. So no doubt about the safety and efficacy of a booster. What's really in question is the need and the priority of individuals to get a booster. We have to think about this as boosters are going to help reduce severe disease. So if we focus on populations that are vaccinated but starting to see some more severe disease, and the over 65 population is one of those, boosters may be perfectly reasonable for that population, but boosters are not going to help reduce the number of cases in this country because that's driven not by vaccinated people but by unvaccinated people getting infected.
Private schools are now appealing for help from the government as enrollments continue to dwindle this academic year. On One News' The Chiefs, Joseph Noel Estrada, Managing Director of Private Schools Group Cocopea, said private schools in the country only achieved 60% of last year's enrollment figures. Estrada noted that more and more children, especially those in the elementary level, are being transferred to public schools amid the pandemic. Private schools are now asking the government's help, especially on operational issues amid planned resumption of face-to-face classes.
We need government help. Kasi nga may ano yan yung retrofitting ng facilities, yung hiring of more personnel to, di ba, to help us in online and in-person classes. Talagang may cost yan may effect on cost. And saan natin kukunin yun, di ba? We are tuition funded by the parent.
Yeah, may limits.
So, and we cannot naman raise our fees. Wala nang nag-enroll. We cannot do that. So, We really need help, government. Yung sa pagsasara, mga private schools kasi, lalo na yung mga mission-driven, no, yung mga non-profit, hindi yan basta-basta magsasara.
Yeah.
They would, kaya, no, magsasacrifice yan. So, but I heard mga nasa 200 or 300 pa rin yung confirmed na patuloy na nakasuspend or nakasara yung kanilang operations for this year.
Another group, meanwhile, said that local governments and educators should have the power to decide on the reopening of face-to-face classes in their own areas. The Movement for Safe, Equitable, Quality, and Relevant Education says local leaders are the ones who have a better view of their COVID situation. This, according to the group, allows them to assess whether their schools are safe and ready for reopening.
Can you imagine, di ba, ang ating bansa, meron tayong mga isla, may mga mountain barangay, and naghabal-habal ka pa para mapuntahan mo or magbangka, no? So marami tayong mga isolated areas. Dapat empowered ang local leaders, educators, health, LGU, so that they can assess. Kasi iba-ibang sitwasyon ng mga barangay, municipality. Kaya nag-iisip ko, ba't kailangan pa ng approval ng presidente? Anong alam ng presidente sa nangyayari sa mga remote barangay?
Yes.
Netflix wins big and even sets a record in this year's Emmy Awards. Nick Garcia with the details.
And I'd most like to
Netflix
thank
took the
amazing
crown and the
cast,
throne
crew,
of this year's Primetime Emmy Awards.
staff, my
It led all
co-creators,
platforms with 44 awards, the most in CBS's record in 1974. HBO and Disney Plus trailed with 19 and 14 each.
Fellow nominees.
The Crown bagged 11 awards, including Outstanding Drama Series and all of the acting categories.
Men are going to come along a way.
Queen's Gambit also took home 11 awards, including Outstanding Limited Series. Executive producer William Hallberg gave its star Anya Taylor-Joy a shout-out.
You inspired a whole generation of girls and young women to realize that patriarchy simply has no defense against our queens.
Apple TV Plus, meanwhile, joined the big league, thanks to Ted Lasso winning 7 Emmys, including Outstanding Comedy Series and Lead Actor.
But the biggest thank you from this group is to the people that watch.
HBO's Mayor of Easttown, meanwhile, took home 3 of the 4 acting awards for a limited series, with Kate Winslet as Outstanding Actress. RuPaul also made history as the person of color with the show's most awards at 11. It's also one for the books for women directors, as Jessica Hobbs of The Crown and Lucia Agnello of HBO's Hacks swept the directing categories in the same year. This year's Emmy saw around 500 socially distanced guests. It was held at the live event deck in Los Angeles, instead of the usual Microsoft Theater. Nick Garcia, We Are One News.
Here's a quick look at some of today's headlines. The president questions the alleged false positive cases from PRC laboratories. And for that, the lower house wants to investigate the COVID-19 tests being conducted by Red Cross. President Duterte hits at Senator Dick Gordon once again. This time, the president asks whether the senator diverted millions of his pork barrel funds to Red Cross. And Cynthia Villar is still the country's richest senator with a net worth of almost 4 billion pesos, while Laila de Lima is the poorest senator with only 9.5 million pesos based on their latest salad. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 2 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Jess De Los Santos, mask on. Wash hands and stay safe. Philippines, we are One News.